Today, we're going to be talking about research of an exoplanet that we may believe might support life because the planet is a vast water planet with a major ocean. In the Sky Report, we'll talk about happenings in the sky. And finally, we're going to look at the images being taken by NASA's Chandra X-Ray Observatory and the James Webb Telescope. All of that and more will be covered. This is Interstellar Insights. Alright guys, so moving in to the first topic of this week's episode, we're going to be talking about an exoplanet that might be able to support life. So, this exoplanet isn't like anything like new that was recently discovered. It's been known for a while. So, this exoplanet, which has been dubbed LHS 1140, which is actually not poorly named, this planet was initially discovered in 2017 as part of a red dwarf planetary system that is 48 light years away from Earth. And so, just for those that don't understand, planetary system, just think of it like, solar system, just like with other stars. And in this case, it's with a red dwarf. Red dwarfs are good for supporting life because they're smaller than the sun and they live for a really long time. Scientists believe that red dwarfs in, the universe have only used about 1% of their fuel. So that's a really good sign, in terms of searching for life out past the solar system. So anyways, this planet isn't really a new discovery, but recently, they discovered that it's in the Goldilocks zone in the planetary system, which is just a term to refer to the region of a planetary system where it's not too hot or too cold and definitely has, the necessary molecules such as carbon and oxygen to support life. So think of like where Earth is in our solar system. That region of the solar system would be like the Goldilocks area for supporting life, because if it wasn't, then I wouldn't be talking in this podcast and nothing that we have would be existing. So anyways, that's where this planet is believed to be, in that planetary system, and they just discovered that there is some form of an ocean with water on that planet. So they believe that 10 to 20% of the planet's mass is water, compared to Earth, where it's like only 7% of Earth, which sounds small, but if you're factoring in, because you've heard that Earth is 70% ocean and 30% continent, but we're talking about like the Earth as a whole, including like the mantle and the core, and which in that case it's like 7% water, and then I guess it would be 93% everything else, from the crust to the iron and the silicone and the core. But anyways, water seems to be making up more on this planet as its mass is believed to be 10 to 20% made up of water. So this planet is like a total ocean, which can support life. Anyways, going back to that, there's some, I guess we could call them like theories of what this ocean is like, because there's still research being done to further determine more about this ocean. So some scientists believe that this ocean is just like a massive sheet of ice, and then like at certain points on the planet where there's a lot of heat, that area is just liquid ocean. So think of maybe like using the Earth as an analogy, like the equator, where it just receives constant heat. Like imagine if everywhere else was just ice in that region of the planet. The equator is just liquid ocean. So that's one of the theories. The other theories is that LHS 1140 is like Europa, and the thing with Europa is that Europa is encased in ice, but looking beneath that ice, there's actually a liquid ocean. So it could be that this planet is totally encased in this giant sheet of ice, and then beneath that ice, there's just this massive liquid ocean, which who knows where all the life is. And then, that could be where life is. if we look statistically at the universe, there's so many planets. There's definitely got to be at least another planet that can support life. Where extraterrestrial beings. I'm talking about like aliens, like not like those aliens like from movies and pop culture, but like there's definitely places in the universe and even within the Milky Way that definitely can support life besides Earth. Could be like Europa, where that definitely can support life in Europa, or Enceladus, Saturn's moon, which is made up of icy glaciers that definitely have the materials to support life. But anyways, yeah, and then there's some evidence, although it's not proven, and they're still trying to do research, is that this planet might contain carbon dioxide and nitrogen, which further points to LHS 1140, further supporting life on this planet. So yeah, all of this was also observed by Webb, James Webb Telescope. So yeah, there's going to be more research done. We'll figure out more about this exoplanet. And right now, it seems like it definitely can support life. And with the new evidence pointing towards there being carbon dioxide and nitrogen, which are two very important, molecules in supporting, life on planets. There's certainly an abundance of it here on Earth. So yeah, looks like this planet definitely can support life, but it'll only be a matter of time before we get concrete proof that there is life on this planet. So yeah, this is about this new exoplanet. Let's go move on to this week's sky report. Alrighty guys, so let's move into this week's sky report, starting with what's going on tonight. Reminder that all the times are going to be listed in Eastern Daylight Time, aka US East Coast Time, aka just Eastern whatever. So if you're living in another time zone, do the math. Unless I say it's like local time by the time zone for certain events, but other than that, do the math. It's all in Eastern Daylight. But anyways, let's get into it. So tonight, the moon will pass 0.2 degrees north of the star Antares, and the moon is going to be flying throughout the sky, and it's going to be like in the lower left part of Antares throughout the night, not the night sky, just throughout the night in general. So the moon will just kind of be dancing around the star, and then besides that, if we face north above Cassiopeia, the house Cyphus, the house constellation, houses the Herschel Garnet star with a magnitude of 4, and also the variable star Ceph will be shining between a magnitude of 3.4 and 5.1 that night. So variable star is just a star that just kind of is on a kind of a spectrum, if you will, of just different levels of brightness. So, it could be shining, like Ceph, for example, could be shining at 3.4 at one point, and another time it could be at like 4.0. So yeah, that's just a little bit of vocabulary. So yeah, that's what's happening tonight and tomorrow, which is Thursday, the 18th. Yeah, that sounds right. The asteroid Pallas will be appearing stationary. I just say appearing because it's still moving against the background star of Serpens at 5 p.m. And then if you're looking at it later in the night sky, it will be high in the south in the sunset. So where sunset is behind the south. Yeah. And then Pallas later that night will be at a magnitude of 9.8, and it will be 3.7 degrees south of the Coronae Borealis. Sorry, there's a lot of Greek, Latin stuff. I did not take the Greek or Latin at school. So, Coronae Borealis will be at 4.6 magnitude, which is where you can find Pallas, which will lie in the eastern portion of the Northern Crown's Curve constellation. And then Pallas is going to be moving westward this is kind of more of a long-term thing, but in the night sky for the past couple of days. Pallas will be swinging westward until about mid-August, where it'll swing back eastward, which is kind of more of a long-term thing going on with that asteroid. But anyways, that's what's going on Thursday, tomorrow night at July 18th. And then Friday, July 19th, Saturn's two-faced moon, Iapetus, will be brightened as it goes through western elongation, which is not the moon physically stretching out, which would be actually kind of cool, but it's actually angular separation between Saturn and Iapetus, because Iapetus, you can't see in the night sky due to its proximity of Saturn, and Saturn's glare kind of gets in the way of the vision. So western elongation, is it elong? I don't think it's just elongate. It's not elongate. Those two words are very similar. But anyways, as it goes through western elongation, you can see the moon better compared to before, where Saturn's glare would be blocking its view. But anyways, Iapetus is actually two-sided. It's sometimes called the yin-yang moon because it has two sides. It has a bright side and a dark side. For Friday night, the bright side is going to be facing the moon at 9. At a magnitude of 9. So, yeah, and then that's what's going to occur, I guess, throughout the day and night or early morning. But anyways, yeah, that's what's going on with Iapetus. But there's more going on with Saturn, because at 4 a.m. local daylight time, which is your time zone, just at 4 a.m., including mine. I don't know why I paused it. That's very awkward. Anyways, Saturn is going to be standing high south in, the constellation of Aquarius. And its moons are going to be lined up with Saturn at different magnitudes. So moons such as Tethys, Rhea, and Dione are going to be at 10th magnitude. Or let's take Titan, for example. Saturn's largest moon is going to be at 8th magnitude, while it's lined up with Saturn high in the southern horizon above Aquarius. So, yeah, that's what's going to be going on Friday. And I'm just going to give you time. So, today, the 17th, sunset's going to be at 8:26 p.m. Moonrise is going to be at 5:31 p.m. And moonset's going to be at 1:46 a.m. I think that's going to be next day. Tomorrow, the 18th, sunrise is going to be at 5:47 a.m. Sunset's going to be at 8:25 p.m. Moonrise is going to be at 6:37 p.m. And moonset's going to be at 2:22 a.m. And then on the 19th, sunrise is going to be at 5:48 a.m. Sunset's going to be at 8:25 p.m. Moonrise is going to be at 7:37 p.m. And moonset's going to be at 3:21 p.m. Also, the moon phase, which is going to be the same throughout these 3 days, it's going to be at a waxing gibbous. I believe that it should be going to new moon occurred. New moon occurred like 2 weeks ago. I believe that perhaps sometime next week it should be full moon, as it's kind of finishing out this particular moon phase. But yeah, that's what's going on in the sky in this 3 day forecast from Wednesday to Friday. So yeah, let's go. That's this week's sky report. Let's go move on to the next segment of this week's episode of Interstellar Insights. Alright guys, so let's move into our last major section of this week's podcast. So this segment's actually going to be short. I mean, I guess all the segments have been short because there hasn't really been much. There's been groundbreaking stuff, but it's just nothing to the magnitude of stuff from our previous episode. So this segment's actually going to be pretty short. But anyways, I'm digressing. We're going to be talking about some, I guess we would call it astrophotography from Chandra and Webb up in Earth's orbit. So for those of you that don't know about Chandra and Webb, it's the Chandra X-Ray Observatory and the James Webb Telescope, and these two tools are allowing astronomers to observe and take really cool pictures of incredible, celestial phenomena, galaxies, nebulas, constellations, supernovas, you name it. Uh, there's been a lot of cool stuff that's been captured thanks to these two very essential telescopes, tools, and satellites. I mean, I guess that's what they all really are, but you know what I mean. They're all very important. So, a lot of people have been calling this summer a cosmic summer road trip. Just this kind of a penned term, because a lot of the images, in particular from Chandra, are allowing us to see all, really cool phenomena, and it's allowing us. And so, like in the case with Chandra, it allows us to see the hot regions of stars. So, like the core compared to the outer parts of the stars, which are typically cooler. While the James Webb telescope uses infrared to capture data that shows off the colors of, like red, yellow, cyan, blue, of these, spectacular celestial objects. And it also shows off those beautiful clusters of gas and dust that we see in these images, which is really, really, jaw-dropping and beautiful. So, since this is a podcast, there's really no way to show this, but I believe that NASA has them published, and I'm sure they're published in, the Astrophysics Journal, Astronomy Magazine. I believe there's a magazine called Physics something. But anyways, they're published, in any major astronomy / astrophysics, blog, magazine, even just from NASA. But anyways, some of these celestial objects that were captured include galaxies. So the galaxy cluster Max J0416, which definitely is a horrible name, or I guess its name is a little bit better, Spiral Galaxy NGC 3627, which I've seen images for those two, and I'm just going to say they look incredibly beautiful. It's amazing of the quality of images we can get from Chandra and Webb, which is really, really beautiful. And I would advise everyone after this podcast episode finishes out, finishes out, to go ahead and look for these images because they're really beautiful. And they've also, besides galaxies, they've also photographed Orion, Orion Nebula in the night sky. So that's what that's mainly Chandra's doing when looking at the night sky. But the Webb telescope actually recently caught an image of two intertwined galaxies. And I find this funny, but they're nicknamed the Penguin and the Egg, which is a change of heart from the two other galaxies that I just discussed about, the Penguin and the Egg. I don't know, it's very humorous, but I've seen the image for the Penguin and the Egg, and it's cool. These two galaxies have been intertwined like that for, I believe, 10 million years, and eventually at some point in the future, they're going to merge into one galaxy, kind of like galactic cannibalism, where two galaxies merge into one. And kind of on that topic of merging galaxies and galactic cannibalism, the Milky Way is expected, if you guys know about the nearby Andromeda galaxy, which is a spiral galaxy just like the Milky Way, but a lot bigger, and and of course in the local group, the Milky Way and Andromeda are expected to merge into one mega super spiral galaxy, which will occur in the future. I don't know exactly when, but who knows? Maybe humans will be around to see that day happen. But yeah, so that's what Webb captured, the Penguin and the Egg intertwining, and eventually those two are going to merge into one. I don't know names. Penguin egg, egg penguin, I don't know. But besides those images that are being captured, we still have, I'm going to say, 1.5. Well, I mean, I guess fall doesn't start till the end of September, so more like 2.5-ish months of the summer, which means that Chandra and Webb are still out there capturing images, which means that more images are going to be revealed by NASA and all these other sources throughout the summer. So yeah, go ahead, take a look at these images. They're very, very jaw-dropping, beautiful images of the night sky. And I'd recommend anyone after they finish listening to this podcast to go onto the internet and take a look at them. They really are that beautiful. But anyways, enough of me getting all struck by these images. Let's go move on to this week's edition of Astronomy Trivia. Alright guys, so welcome to this week's edition of Astronomy Trivia. Before I reveal this week's question, let's talk about last week's question, which I believe was about, what rover suffered power issues. And the answer to that was the sister rover, Spirit and Opportunity. And so Spirit and Opportunity, the Mars rovers, were launched in 2003 and landed on Mars in 2004. But they suffered power issues because their power source was solar panels. And they discovered after these two rovers landed on Mars in 2004 that there's a lot of dust storms on Mars, which means that those solar panels get covered in dust, which basically left Spirit and Opportunity kind of crippled. But then they learned that there were these like kind of mini tornadoes, like whirlwinds or whatever, like from from every magic book out there that has these mini tornadoes. These like Martian mini tornadoes just go around and they actually swoop up cleaned the dust off the solar panels, allowing Spirit and Opportunity to, get their power and perform the necessary tasks until another dust storm comes around. So there's this cycle going on, which is why in 2012, when they were designing and launching Curiosity, they decided to solve that problem. They just slapped the nuclear reactor onto the back of Curiosity. And I believe they did the same thing for Perseverance. And I was it launched 2021 or 2022 when they were designing Perseverance. And so Spirit and Opportunity, I guess they were decommissioned in 2018, so they're just on the Martian surface doing who knows what. But yeah, that was kind of the explanation for last week's answer. So let's get into this week's question. So, let me rephrase. This is the question. I just didn't want to throw anyone off. So yeah, your question is, what program was created by the Soviets to gather information about Venus? I'm going to say this again. Your question is, what program was created by the Soviets to gather information about Venus? I'm going to go, and probably at the time when this gets uploaded, because this is actually a Monday that I'm recording this, I'm going to post the polls out on both Spotify and YouTube with 4 potential answers. And, one of them is obviously correct. And you guys can take a guess. Hopefully you get them right, get a pat on the back, whatever. But yeah, that is your question. And yeah, let's go and close out this week's edition of Interstellar Insights now. Alrighty guys, so that concludes this week's edition of Interstellar Insights. Next week's going to be a regular song and dance. Regular posted podcast will be out next week. So yeah, nothing new. Everything's normal. So yeah, if you like this episode of Interstellar Insights, it would mean a lot if you could give this episode a like and subscribe, or give me a follow on Spotify. Depends on where you're listening on. So subscribe to me if you're on YouTube, or give me a follow on Spotify. It means everything to me. It helps support me. And, if, we get a large following in the future, it allows me to push out, better quality content. Who knows? Maybe I'll interview someone sometime in the future, in astronomy or astrophysics. That's been a huge part. But yeah, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. And yeah, this is Michael signing off.